Welcome back to the LusoCAD for Beginners course by Structural Academy. In this video we will explain Polar Tracking and Ortho, which are two very useful tools for guidance while drafting in LusoCAD. Let's take this drawing as an example. We are informed that it was drawn using 45-degree angle increments, so every angle of each line is an increment of 45, except for one. We also know that all lines except for one have the same length of 800 units. Let's now try to draft this geometry from scratch. If we try to draw normally, we can actually get it correctly. But as you can see, the process is quite tedious while getting the right angle with the mouse. It would be very useful for us to give priority to the angles with increments of 45 for this specific drawing. This is exactly what Polar Tracking offers us. Below in the toolbar we can activate Polar Tracking. And by right-clicking it we get this list of degree increments. We can see 90, 30, 15, etc. We can also see that we have the option of selecting 45, which turns out is the increment we need for the drawing. Let's select 45 and go back to drafting. Now whenever we start drawing a line, we can see that a green guideline appears whenever we hover over an angle with a 45-degree increment, so 45, 90, 135, 180, 225, etc. This makes a great difference in the amount of effort it takes to complete this drawing. We barely have to worry about selecting the correct angle. However, we mentioned there was a line that had a unique angle, outside of our 45-degree guideline. We can see that the final line has an angle of 158 degrees. We could just select the endpoint and finish the drawing, but what if we need to use the 158-degree angle for another part of the project? It could be useful to have this angle appear as a guideline if it's going to be a consistent part of our drawing. So let's go back to the Polar Tracking settings and go to this section where we can add unique additional angles. It's important to know that these are one-time angles. We will not get all angles with a 158-degree increment. We will only add 158 and minus 158, which is 202. And we can see that now whenever we draw a line, a green guideline appears at 158 degrees, even if it's not a 45-degree increment. Let's go back to the settings to explain the rest of the options. We have the option of tracking orthogonally only, which is what we have been using so far, but we can use all polar angle settings as well, which applies polar tracking settings to object snap tracking. Finally, we can choose between absolute and relative to last segment polar angle measurement. If we choose relative to last segment, the polar angle will be measured each time we start from a new relative point. Finally, if we want to only draw orthogonally, in 90-degree angles, we can just activate the ortho mode in the toolbar. This is different to polar tracking, as it will not allow us to select any angle other than 90 degrees. That was all for this lesson. Keep watching the course to further your LusoCAD skills.